So hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. So recently I've been getting a lot of questions in my comments, and these have especially been about back handsprings. Back handsprings are obviously like a pretty main skill in gymnastics, and there are so many people who are struggling with them in my comments. I know I've struggled with them before, so today I thought I would make a little video where I answer these questions that I've been getting. I hope some of you that might not have commented but are also wondering can get help from these answers. So I'm going to start with a pretty basic one, which is how long did it take you to get a back handspring? I would say that it took about 1 to 2 years. When I first started practicing gymnastics, I sort of focused on other skills and I didn't immediately try a back handspring. I of course really wanted one, but I didn't try one. But then when I actually started to practice one, it took me about a year or maybe even more. And you can definitely learn one faster than in a year, like it took for me, but I was really struggling with the mental block of it, and I also kind of jumped into it a bit too fast, I think, because before you try your back handspring, you should at least be very confident with other similar skills like back walkovers and bridges and stuff like that. If you start when you're actually ready, it will probably take less than a year, but that was how it went for me. And then we have another comment, which isn't really a question, but basically someone is saying that they are struggling with their back handsprings because they are scared of jumping back. Which might be one of my most common questions, because jumping backwards in a back handspring is the scariest part of it. It might be the scariest thing to learn, because when you finally learn jumping back in a back handspring, you're obviously not as scared of back tucks and everything like that, but that specific step I think is a very difficult one. And I do have a lot of tips on how to be less scared of jumping back, so I'm just gonna go through them pretty briefly. The thing that I usually answer with when I get this kind of comment is to practice on a soft surface or a mat, or even just grass, because that's better than concrete. As long as you practice in a place where you feel like it's the safest possible, you'll feel more comfortable with trying a back handspring, and that really helps. The best thing you can probably do is to practice on a very soft surface at first, like a mattress, because the thing that you're probably scared of is landing on your neck, hurting yourself. That's the really scary thing. So if you practice on a very soft surface, that should be very safe, and you can kind of tell yourself that you'll be fine if you fail. And the next tip that I have for this is to have someone spot you. This is really easy to do if you just have someone you know that also kind of does gymnastics or anything like that. Just have them put a hand on your lower back. Try to do back walkovers and do them faster and faster with this person spotting you, so that eventually you might feel okay, well, they have me if I fall, so then you can try jumping too. As long as they have their hand there, it usually feels a lot safer. And it also is a lot safer. Building up your confidence around the skill in general, building up your gymnastics confidence in general, those are things that help. The next thing that someone has asked is if they can do a back handspring without having a trampoline. And as I mentioned before, having a soft surface is really useful. And a trampoline, I would say, is probably the easiest place to learn a back handspring, because it's just so bouncy, you get a lot of height, and it's just a lot easier than other soft surfaces. But as you can tell from my answer before, you don't need specifically a trampoline. You can get really creative with what kind of soft surfaces you can practice on. You most definitely have some sort of mattress, or just some inflatable mattress or anything like that. So you don't need a trampoline specifically to get your back handspring, but if you do have a trampoline or an air track, I would say those two things are really useful for getting your back handspring. But there can even be benefits to starting off by practicing your back handspring on something like grass, because the transition from having your back handspring on a trampoline to actually getting it on grass, it's kind of two different processes. You're more used to the feeling if you already have it on trampoline, but it is way scarier to do on a harder surface. So you don't actually need the best equipment to be able to practice and get your back handspring. And I do have a back handspring tutorial up on my page, which I will link somewhere here. This is a very old one, so I honestly don't really remember how it's like. I might make a new back handspring tutorial, because I think this one is on trampoline, this tutorial. But other than that, those were all the comments that I wanted to kind of go through today. Always just feel free to ask me questions in my comments because I like answering them a lot, and also let me know if there are specific videos that you'd like to see on my channel or anything like that. But that was actually everything for this video, and I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. But again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I will see you in my next video.